I believe posting on social is brand building, and the testing is added value for what you do next on media amplification or campaign work. Decision makers are stuck in what Andre said, which is like, this is not on brand, or I don't like this. People are bringing television mentality to social creative.
So how do you fix that?
Pain.
What's that?
Pain. Everybody is siphoning off the brand's money. These brands are in trouble. Every single brand is vulnerable to an Alex Cooper and a Logan Paul and an Emma Chamberlain. This shit's going to hit the fan, and then everybody's in trouble. The elephant in the room in our industry is the lack of focus Fortune 5000 has on organic social creative. It is such a big deal. Every company I'm involved with that really matters to me, I own it, my family owns it, I own a big part of it. It does not spend $1 of media anymore without the creative being validated organically as an organic post. Not $1. And if you look under the hood of Mary Ruth's Organics and Cakes, the bras for Spanx, and so many of these brands that are winning, I'm telling you right now, in the next 24 to 36 months, it will be best practice to not spend $1 in media until the creative is validated by the AI algorithms of the social networks. There is no A/B testing framework that I've seen, and I look at every DTC, this is what I'm very passionate about this. There is no better practice than converting the creative that over-indexed it with the actual consumer and slightly tweaking it for performance. So I think the biggest elephant in the room is, it's insane to not take advantage of the insanity of the technology that these 7 platforms have created with their feeds. And I think it will become more standard practice in the next 4 or 5 years, and in these 36 to 48 months, the haves and have-nots of which brands in our world of Fortune 5000 go deeper into that. I think it's crazy to support the classic creative AOR model. You know, we talked a little bit about this not too long ago, like to pay an agency to come up with an idea and then go spend a lot of money to produce it and run it on a television first with digital and social matching luggage is asking for trouble.
So talk a little about the creative brief. I know it's one of your favorite topics. And how you think that's evolving.
So we think, you know, we're creative AOR for a lot of clients, we're a media AOR for a lot of clients, more digital, but getting into more traditional remix. We got a lot of different ways we do business. I think the craziest thing in the world is the creative brief. Like someone writing something and handing it to an agency strategist who then goes on Reddit for 6 weeks and comes back and hands it to a creative who then, like the whole thing's crazy. We think the brief is now the over-indexing piece of social creative. Come up with the idea, make it, post it. When that goes viral and or over-indexes your norm, that's the insight. That becomes the brief to the campaign. So we think social, it's actually shocking. I said something yesterday. In the last 15 weeks, it feels like the last 15 years of work is paying off. We have a very strong Q1 coming creatively, and the dollar amounts that we have clients paying for just social creative and production is staggering to most of my employees. It's been a very big Q4 for me because I've had a lot of fun of I told you so to a lot of my key employees. Because, you know, most of my employees come from classic agencies and they just did not see the level of spend we're seeing from some of our clients that we've gotten there to go into creative social, which are much bigger line items now than the creative AOR line. I mean, as you all know, you're the ones that are close to this, even the creative AORs are struggling to even get a year retainer anymore, right? They want a roster now, the clients, and ad hoc. It's becoming a very bad business. I think the new version of creative AOR is always on social creative at scale, and then you do campaign work from that. And I think we're at the forefront, but I think we'll be copied pretty quick. I think in 5 years, a lot more agencies are gonna look like us than they do today.
How do you talk to brands about...
Nicely.
And I'm gonna open up to a few questions,
yep.
Carol, but how do you think about branding and all of that? So, you know, brands talk a lot about how they have to have a brand persona and they have to have a value proposition, have to have it. How do you think about that when, in a lot of cases, you're giving over a lot of the, obviously you greenlight it, but you're still giving a lot of the control over to other groups outside the 4 walls?
So when we get into this 1991 how brands grow philosophy that people want to talk to me about from an academic standpoint, I just take the brand, put on the screen, Could be any brand you want. I type in Nike, Schmikey, Sunkist, Chanel, whatever you want. CMO, brand person. I type it in the search bar on Instagram and TikTok and show them 87,000 pieces of creative that they did not make about their brand, none of which look the same, no same adjectives, no same colors. The concept that we still live in television baffles me. How do I talk to them about it? By telling them the truth, which is they're stuck in academia from the 90s, in a distribution framework that does not exist anymore, and they're more than willing and able, because they write the check, to stay in that world, but it doesn't exist. And for what? To not make creative that's relevant to different consumer segmentations. Look at this room. Are you looking at this? Look at how look at the different faces, genders, races, income levels, I'm sure. How would one video trying to sell these lovely shoes you're wearing, how could that possibly hit everyone here and convert? We need more relevance at scale to convert. Every brand's journey is to win on relevance at scale to as many consumer segmentations as possible. To hold up a book that was written pre-internet as the philosophy of brand is fucking asinine. Just like this industry. We are stuck, friends. I mean, again, what I like about talks like this is like, let's talk on a human level. Like, you're a human being. You walk out of some of these meetings, you know that shit won't work. We need to have that combo more as an industry. I think it'll be healthy. There's a respectful, here I can be a big shot, we can have fun, we're great friends, I love being with all of you, happy holidays. In a business meeting, I'm not like trying to curse them out, but I'm having very articulate, I'm definitely not willing to fold on anything. And like, I don't fold because I have no opinions. I just care what the consumer thinks. And I think our industry is loaded with human beings that have audacious opinions that are their opinions, but are not played out with how the consumer's acting today. And so I have no feelings. I don't give a fuck about social media at all. I'm being dead serious. I'm actually looking forward to when we go to glasses or something else because the whole deck gets reset. I have no passion to social. I have passion to social because it's the most underpriced scaled avenue right this second. But I'll be in videos in 7 years, probably no hair, and be like, you fuckers are still doing social, you idiots, you know? Like to me, I'm chasing attention. I'm chasing it at the best price I can get it for. It's why I love Super Bowl. I love to shit on television ads because they're ridiculously overpriced. But Super Bowl's grossly underpriced. $8 million for 130 million people to watch 30 seconds, especially if you get the first half. It's a fucking steal. The problem is if you blow it, because the creative is the variable, you're in for 20, you guys all know the media shit. The fucking networks make you buy a bunch of dog shit to get a Super Bowl spot to begin with. So now you're in for 50. So the creative is the variable of success. This is why I'm obsessed with social creative right now. Creative, let it not be ever lost on any of you. Creative is the variable of success. Being able to validate if the creative is actually resonating with human beings for free on social with technology that is, do you know what the creative testing bullshit SaaS companies in our industry's tech is compared to, Google and Meta and TikTok? Or worst of all, 3 people's subjective opinion in a fucking boardroom? That versus the best AI algorithms in the world? Are you kidding me?
Let's talk about one of your other big themes for next year that I know you like to talk about a lot in social shopping. And I know
you mean live social shopping?
Yes.
Yes, obsessed.
Yeah. So let's talk a little about some of your predictions and your thoughts on that. We have a big retail media network business, meaning that a lot of the brands that are setting up retail media networks, they come to us and they talk to us and we actually help advise them on how to set them up and what to do. So we'd love to hear some of your thoughts about.
I see, the retailers come to you, and then you advise them to set it up. Meaning like CVS will come and be like,
yes, exactly.
Brilliant, because they'll all work because they have all the leverage. They could set it up shitty, they're still gonna be successful. You know that, right? Like they have the leverage.
But they'll make more money if we help them.
Fair enough, to your point. Obviously there's good ways to do it and better ways, and to your point, I think that there's a lot of validity in that, but the good news for the retailers is they have all the leverage. So what was the question?
Social shopping and live social shopping and your thoughts about it.
Again, kind of looking around the room, always thinking about like, why do I even do these things? Oh, because maybe I'll say something that might bring some value to somebody, and then it'd be nice for them to send me an email and say thanks for doing that. It is going to be a very big conversation next year. It's already happened. Most of what I get credit for, like you see around corners, you predict things. It's not true. I just watch what's happening, and when it's happened, I go all in. This has happened. This is something I've been waiting for because it's happened in China 10 years ago, and I'm like, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. It finally happened. So if you look at what's going on with TikTok Shop, but even, Whatnot is an app that I would highly recommend you download if you want to learn about it. It's just really happening, and like really happening. There are a lot of people making millions of dollars a month selling shit on social. And I think Meta's clearly got to be looking at it. I believe that there's like some smoke about Twitter and Shopify doing stuff. Like, it's happened. And so I think it's gonna be a big deal. And it's actually a big deal overall because it really opens up a whole new paradigm shift, resetting what I alluded to earlier, which is I classify retail and CPG as conflict channel warfare. Like, this is not sustainable for the brands, these retail networks. They're just doubled up slotting fees. There's no money left for the CPGs or the brands to market. This is not gonna end well for the CPGs. And eventually that then tips and affects the retailers themselves. And this new world allows brands to not even ever want to be in Walmart and Target. And there's just a lot going on. And just live social shopping is a real worthwhile thing to learn, even as a side hustle for some of you on, I don't know what you do, or family businesses or things of that nature, but it's really real. It would blow you away. I mean, I sold $180,000 worth of VeeFriends ornaments on Whatnot on Black Friday. $180,000. If I did everything perfect in GaryVee land, social media content, email, text, like me, and I'm good at what I do, I would have never sold $180,000 worth of fucking ornaments, in a month, let alone in 4 hours. There's a reason QVC and home shopping networks still do billions. There's something about the format of just the way we buy. We just like, it's live, it's better. That's why we like sports, it's live. I don't know what to tell you other than get your shit together and learn it a little bit.
So what are you really excited about? Like, which which platforms are you really excited about?
I'll be honest with you, to me this is macro. It's so big, I just assume for Google not to have it, I believe they're sitting right now mapping the shit out of an M&A deal or an execution. I couldn't comprehend. And as, again, with your retail practice, I'm sure this is not lost on some of you that are looking at this little narrow place. Amazon, Walmart have their lives, eBay, like I met with the eBay CEO maybe a month ago, like they're working on making theirs better, like it's here.
Would love to understand, what is one of the biggest things that you see brands and clients sort of stumble over repeatedly? What's one of the biggest things you see out there?
It's a really tricky question for me because my perspective on our industry is, I really love our industry, but I think our industry overvalues fake reports. Thank you, have a nice night. I think we're incredibly challenged. If we're talking Fortune 5,000 marketing, I think agencies in general, especially at the holding company level, and I have a lot of empathy for this because when you're publicly traded and you're held accountable to stock price, but like principal buying, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I think creative is incredibly misunderstood. I think almost all the money is being spent in media on potential reach, not actualized reach. I think we completely lack any sensibility as an industry for what actually is happening in culture and is cool. We do advertising, we don't do like real life. And so, I think it's a challenging time, and I think there's a reason Fortune 500 companies, especially in a consumer lens, are getting challenged. I think there's a reason influencers can come up and start brands and do real business. I think we're in a real crossroads. I really do believe that. And I think we don't have enough authentic, real talk. It's all a bunch of corporate jargon. And I think it's, there's a real opportunity for it to be better.
When you say fake reporting or incorrect reporting, is that because you think people are looking at the wrong data?
Yes, I think when you go into a meeting, and a PR company goes, great news, you got 87 trillion impressions this month from these articles. Who the fuck fuck in this room believes that? Yes. Like, that's on the PR side. I mean, media, like, if the media isn't being consumed, like, how do you buy impressions that not one human in this room believes a lot of those impressions are being actualized? Nobody here would spend the money if it was their family business and their kids' health depended on it, the way that the industry spends money. You wouldn't. So yes, I think the entire industry is predicated on fake reporting. I really believe that.
Maybe they just report on data that doesn't actually matter. Like, maybe it got the impressions, maybe it didn't, but if they didn't have an impact, does it matter?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of things I'm hoping. Actually, I think I saw somebody shared a headline with me this morning. I think Horizon started a creative shop today, or announced it, or was that yesterday? Days are blurring, it's holiday time. But I was pumped. Like, with VaynerMedia, I started the agency for very different reasons. I want to build a private equity firm on top of my agency long term. So I, from day one, wanted media and creative under one roof because I'm going to need that for myself. To be very transparent, I didn't even know anything about the industry, so I didn't even know that agencies had those two things separated when I started the company. I think creative and media have to come back together under one roof so that clients can hold a partner actually accountable to the business versus what we have now, which is, look, I really, really, really think we're wasting an ungodly amount of money on marketing in the Fortune 5000 set. I really believe that.
So, you talk a lot about quality over quantity and how the world is changing and how the data and the posting. Talk to us a little bit about how you're thinking about that. And how
you mean quantity over quality? Because I believe that quantity is not debatable and quality is. If you have 4,000 ads, you have 4,000 ads versus 3. But if you like it or not is very different. If it's what makes it quality, this industry decided high production value, AKA let's waste as much fucking money as possible on a video that not that many people are gonna see because, it's fun to cast Michael B. Jordan so we can gawk at him on set. That's our industry. Is that quality? Because I think when somebody posts a mango gummy TikTok and it sells every pack of mango gummies out at Walgreens in the country, I would go with that being quality. But the production value was $17.09.
Or maybe free.
Or maybe free.
So with that, talk a little about some of the brands that you think are actually doing it well. I know we've all talked about the Ocean Spray example and what they did, mango gummies.
Well, they didn't do that well.
No, that's my point. Like, it worked really well for them, but they didn't do it. The same thing you were recently talking about, the Chili's example, where, they had a 40% increase in Q3.
40% of their Q3 growth for Chili's was based on one TikTok done by a human being, not even an influencer. 40% of its Q3 growth. I come to this industry and have been in it for 15 years loving business, and I love marketing because I think that's the offense in business. I just don't know why we don't have more conversations about the business part of all this. We're like in the muckery of the ad world. That's why CMOs have lost so much clout at board members. I spent a lot of time in business land. Business land, the top private equity firms in the world that own all these companies now, the boards, the CEOs, the CFOs. In the 15 years I've been in this industry, the clout of the CMO has collapsed. And I think it has to do with this conversation. CFO doesn't care, the board doesn't care that you want a Cannes Lion if your business is down 30%. We talk about things within ourselves that no normal human being, I love looking around this room, a lot of youngsters, a lot of OGs, like, have you ever talked to your real friends about this fucking industry? Like, they're like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, they don't give a fuck that Jaguar changed its logo. And so, I think our industry has a real opportunity to get more practical. I think it's gotten very, very, very academic and corporate. And so I think that's the opportunity for all of us. And I think there's some tweaks, and I do think the media and creative thing together could be a monster, because it's gonna help. Because I think we built up so many proxies in this industry to justify things when we could just bring those two back together and like really be in a much better place. That I think, it's funny, I speak to a lot of agency holding company CEOs and owners. I'm like, we need to bring back accountability because that's why brands are taking things in-house. It's all fun and games until it's not. Because ultimately brands have to have a healthy business and they're gonna point at you eventually. And so I think that's a big theme for me going into next year.
All right, so I know we've got some questions. All right.
The people within brands that are enabling the decision to be made about what creative is on social aren't actually the decision makers within a brand. Do you think that that is also an issue within a brand, that the decision makers aren't as plugged in as some of the people inside of the brand and aren't empowering the brand to actually make those decisions about creative social, if you will?
Yes.
And how do you fix that? Do you just empower younger kids to make more decisions?
If you're a brand?
Yeah.
I think it's dangerous to say younger kids.
Okay.
Like I know unlimited 20-year-olds that are internal at brands that when I sit down in 15 minutes realize they have no fucking clue what's going on.
Fair enough.
And there's plenty of 50-year-old creative directors that I'm like, oh shit, you know how the algo works? Like so, but to your point,
Right.
Notwithstanding that hedge, yeah, I think it's a good idea to let people make decisions creatively that might be more intuitive to how the creative works within a medium. I would tell you that there are very few people currently outside of it's so funny, the creators themselves know because it's their life. If you're an influencer, it's your life to get organic views. But in business land, like that's the biggest issue right now in agency land. All the best talent doesn't go and become a copywriter at Ogilvy, they start their own $1 million brand on social. So yes, I think there's a lot of themes that I just heard that make a lot of sense to me. I think the decision makers are stuck in what Andre said, which is like, this is not on brand, or I don't like this. They're just, it's like, I'll use this analogy. We have people making decisions on how we should fish when we're fucking baking a cake. Like we're not even in the same conversation. People are bringing television mentality to social creative.
So how do you fix that?
Pain.
What's that?
Pain. What I've seen fixes it is when brands start to feel the pain. It's all coming. The pain is coming. That's why you're reading about so many M&As, both on the agency side and brand side. Like think about our headlines in our industry last 48 hours. The fuck do you think is going on? We've been fucking around. And now the pain comes.
So with the pain, you're still optimistic about 2025? You mean?
I'm optimistic about 2025
Yeah.
in the way that I'm always optimistic. Winners win, losers lose. Like, I believe the people that have the best actions, we must all, even at what you all do for a living, you must sneak in, because I'm very empathetic, you have to do what you have to do for big conglomerates on both the agency and the brand side. You must sneak in as much truth about the consumer as you possibly can in every deck, even if you get one fucking slide in there of truth for the consumer, not what will sell, not what will work, not what corporate, it's all corporate. So do I have hope? Of course I do, because I actually think there is a lot of pain coming, which re-wakes up everyone and says, maybe we shouldn't spend $3 million on a TVC that nobody sees. And by the way, I wanna make, this is a very important nuance. I believe posting on social is brand building, and the testing is added value for what you do next on media amplification or campaign work. Like when you're getting that level of testing quality for free as a byproduct of what you should be doing in modern brand building anyway, it gets intoxicating, but go ahead.
My question was around best practices for social commerce and who's winning in that space right now.
Are you saying live or affiliate?
Live shop, TikTok shop.
I think Abercrombie and Fitch is doing a good job. They're really taking advantage of the affiliate model. They're starting to sneak in some of the live social shopping. I pre-mentioned you should absolutely look at Mary Ruth's Organics and Cakes. Both of them are very advanced. Complete social first. Like, I don't know how many times, like again, you might not, I'm in a very luxurious spot where I'm an early stage investor as well. So like, I'll come from like a meeting with like Mondelez, and then my next meeting will be with a company, they're like two 25-year-olds are like, hey, I'm like, hey, they're like, yeah, so we do like 83 million, and we started only 18 months ago, and we just do TikTok. So like, I'm able to sit in like two different worlds and understand kind of what's happening. I hope everybody understands the Fortune 500s on the consumer side have lost their moats. They don't have an advantage in distribution anymore. and they don't have an advantage in media anymore. The thought of like pre-locking in any media is insanity. It should all be flexible, and as much of it should be biddable, because all the stuff you're locking in on the upfront is the worst shit in the industry.
We agree with you. We tried to change that a few years ago. Unfortunately, the
Proud
world
of you
ran
guys.
right back to exactly where they were
You
pre-COVID.
guys think
So.
about sports too?
People watch sports. I just think our industry forgets that commercials are different than the content. You know, like people are like, what about sports? I'm like, yeah, I understand. People watch a lot of shit. People watch streaming all day long. 8,000 fucking Hallmark fucking Christmas movies on Amazon Prime. Like but the second, like even Prime with the freebie thing, the second it goes to ad, I'm on phone and out. The fuck am I gonna watch a bullshit 30-second video for? This is why Super Bowl's so special. We want to see the ad, right? But nobody wants to see the Grammys ad. Nobody's like, oh, can't wait for the Oscars next year. The ads are gonna fucking crush it. But we sell the fuck out of that. I think really, I mean it. I think we lack a very substantial common sense, consumer centricality in our industry, and we're going to pay the price if we don't adjust. Because these brands aren't gonna have money because they're gonna lose market share. And the new age of brands are like, fuck you, I'm not having agencies or what consultant, with who the fuck, we do it internal. This is not gonna end up good if you don't bring value. That's life. Promise you right now, if you remember anything from this fucking talk, if you do not provide value, eventually the shit hits the fan. And that is our fucking industry.
All right, then, yes, this last one.
So are you predicting the death of the 15 and 30 second spot? Because most of traditional media, television production development is paid for by the 15 and 30.
I think the 15 and 30 is straight garbage. Straight fucking garbage. And I'm devastated because I can smell that Netflix is gonna replicate that garbage. But whatever.
Well, that's the saddest part, is that all these industries, when they've had a chance to innovate, they haven't.
But that's because they hire the fuckers from the old thing. Like when I invested in Facebook and Twitter and all that, that's when I was really learning. I was like, this is awesome. Facebook's gonna be awesome. And I'm like, wait a minute, they just hired 800 fuckers from Yahoo, and they're bringing all that same dog shit. You know what I mean? Like that's why. Like when you go into LinkedIn accounts of the fucking people making the decisions, they're like, oh, they used to work at Paramount or fucking CBS. Like it's not, no, everybody is siphoning off the brand's money. These brands are in trouble. Every single brand is vulnerable to an Alex Cooper and a Logan Paul and an Emma Chamberlain. This shit's going to hit the fucking fan. And then everybody's in trouble. Promise.